National Secretary, 𝐦𝐮𝐲𝐫𝐞. Really, thank you very much for having us. I will introduce later on our keynote address leader. But really what we are here today is what we are doing every week, where we are going around the city and we are celebrating the legacy of Herman Mashaba. Legacy of Herman Mashaba, who was the mayor from 2016 until 2019. Akaqedanga itheme yakhe because he was being targeted by the DA. The party that he was actually representing in government didn't want him to deliver services, particularly to the poor. And they started talking to the ANC to come and put a motion of no confidence against him. And they managed to convince some of the DA councillors to vote with the ANC if that motion comes. So Herman Mashaba didn't wait for that motion of no confidence. Okay, if you don't want me in your party, I will resign. And that's how he resigned, and eventually he started the People's Dialogue, and then he started the political party that we are here with, which is ActionSA. So Herman Mashaba, when he was the mayor, around 2017, 2018 towards 2019, had to resign. He introduced a program called 𝐷iphetogo. That 𝐷iphetogo program, which Michael will speak at length about, it was about really changing the way we operate as government. Because government doesn't have endless budget. But government has a limited budget that it can use for a specific time. So we realized already the budget that we had in the city of Johannesburg was not going far. And we had such a backlog. Remember that Herman Mashaba as a mayor, he came after the ANC had been in government for close to about 20 years. And they had destroyed most of the infrastructure. They had allowed the borders to be opened, illegal foreigners coming in, hijacking buildings, bringing drugs and counterfeit goods and all that. But the other thing that the ANC did between the time when they took power to 2016, they were not maintaining infrastructure. They were not building new infrastructure like electricity, like water, roads and so forth. So when we came in Herman Mashaba, we found backlog of that infrastructure. So 𝐷iphetogo was saying, let's rather make sure the budget that we have, we direct it to most important things. And let's electrify informal settlements. Let's make sure the pipes are sewerage, and all those things. Those were the priorities that Herman Mashaba when he was the mayor. And that is why he called that 𝐷iphetogo. So that time I was fortunate, I was honored to be the MMC of Finance. And we could be able to see the discipline and the leadership that Herman Mashaba when it comes to budget. He directed us, let's make sure this budget goes to city power, it goes to rent water, it goes to JRA. Let's fix our road, let's make sure we electrify informal settlement, let's make sure we refurbished our substations like the one that we are in front of. So there's many substations that were built within that 3 years and that Herman Mashaba election. We must make sure we get a mayor that knows what to do, mayor that has seen it before, mayor that had a plan, disrupted by his own political party. But now we must give him this mayoralship with a full majority, full mandate, so that he can be able to deliver and finish what he started. So today, as I said, I'm joined by our national chair, Mr. Michael Beaumont. He was there with us. He was the chief of staff, more officing under Herman Mashaba at that time. And he was at the central of assisting us as administration, as MMCs, as the administration, your city manager and others, in making sure the plans stand at Herman Mashaba, they come together and they get to be implemented. He's our national chairperson today, and he's the founder, the co-founder of ActionSA, because we were with him even from the People's Dialogue up until ActionSA was established. So I'm introducing to you today to come and deliver the keynote address our national chairperson, 𝐟𝐨𝐫𝐿𝐫𝐠𝐞𝐭, Tate Michael Boma.
Dumelang, Molweni, Sanbonani, Goeiemorgen, good morning. It is good to be here with you in Johannesburg today because we're talking about the future of our city. And we're talking about the future of your city and my city at a time when Johannesburg has never been as bad as it is today. And we must understand why Johannesburg is where it is today, because there needs to be some honesty before you can solve the problem. It is where it is today because the only mayor who delivered in the history of Johannesburg was removed for being too good as a mayor. And subsequently what we have had is one party after the other, the ANC, the DA, the Smolanyana parties like 𝐬𝐮𝐬𝐫𝐞, and they have failed Johannesburg time and time again. And I say this because it is important for the residents of Johannesburg to understand that every power outage, every water shortage, every pothole they drive through, every time the sewage runs down the road, these are the political parties that have brought this to their doors. And this is precisely why ActionSA has launched this Mashaba Legacy Tour. This event today is the 5th event on our tour, where we are profiling the legacy of Herman Mashaba, because he was the only mayor who got Johannesburg working in the recent memory of the residents of the city, and he did it in a complex 7-way minority coalition government. And the reason why we are bringing this to the attention of the people of Johannesburg is because they are depressed. They are saddened by the state of their city and they need hope. And what better hope can there really be than the knowledge that someone has done it before and it can be done again to all of their benefit. And we stand here today to talk about the subject of electricity. When Herman Mashaba became the mayor of Johannesburg, he commissioned an investigation. And that investigation revealed that the electricity backlog in Johannesburg stood at over 60 billion rand. At the time, the capital budget available each year to address this and other infrastructure problems stood at only 9 billion rand. And it showed you the crisis that he faced. 30% of the transformers of electricity substations, like the one behind us, were past their useful lifespan, and that is why there were 170,000 power outages every single year. But through the program that my colleagues have spoken about called 𝐷𝐵𝐻𝐿𝐿, we redirected funds from the wastages of international travel and conferences and consultants and DSTV and newspaper deliveries, and these were redirected to infrastructure priorities like the substation behind me and so many more. And as a result of this, the percentage of the capital budget spent on electricity, water and roads went up from 58% to 70%. And that's real meaningful change. 𝐷𝐵𝐻𝐿𝐿. And you know what happened? Residents of Johannesburg, the power outages came down. The average household faced 6.1 outages every year when Herman Mashaba became mayor, and that came down to 5.8 per year, at a time when we were facing the heaviest load shedding in the history of our city. And rather than taking that project and improving it, subsequent governments have done nothing. And even now, without load shedding, there are more power outages today than there were when Herman Mashaba was the mayor. And substations like the one behind me stand a testament to that fact. This is the Roosevelt Park substation in Randburg, feeding communities like Northcliffe and surrounding areas. When Herman Mashaba was mayor, no government had upgraded this facility in 30 years. And that is despite how many more people lived here all those years later than lived here when it was first built. Herman Mashaba budgeted 130 million rand for the upgrade of this substation, and the situation began to improve. But unfortunately, the situation has gone backwards again, because all that money that should have gone into taking that improvement and building on it has been redirected back to international travel and luxuries and conferences and all the wastages that are the hallmarks of the ANC and their coalition partners. If you would ever like a story that shows you how the right party and the right mayor leading a government can improve the lives of the residents of that city, it is this substation and what it represents in Johannesburg under Herman Mashaba's mayoralty. And this example was followed in many substations in Herriotdale, Lehigh, Nansfield, Wilrow Park, Mondior, Melbourne, Pennyville, Waterfall, Hopefield, Eldorado Park, and so many more, including in Sebenza, where the city built the biggest power station in the southern hemisphere, and it was built within budget and within schedule. When last did you hear of a government doing that? So if the residents of Johannesburg want stable electricity supply from a political party who has leaders that have shown that they do deliver services, and they don't just deliver them for some of the people, but they do deliver them for all, it is very clear that ActionSA has to be that party going forward. But it is not just electricity in which Herman Mashaba's record stands unrivaled. When he left the city of Johannesburg, his government had the highest resident satisfaction levels recorded in the history of the city at 74%. He had redirected 2 billion rand from the wastages that I referred to earlier to service delivery infrastructure like the one behind me. He reduced the water leakages and bursts from 45,000 per year to 37,000 per year by replacing 200 kilometers of the oldest water pipes in the city. He resurfaced 900 kilometers of the 4,000 kilometers of bad roads in Johannesburg, and you've got to ask yourself, if those who conspired to remove Herman Mashaba for being too effective had not been successful, where would our roads have been today? He extended the operating hours of 27 clinics that operated late into the night and over weekends, administering life-saving care in many cases, saving the lives of 500 people who would not have made it to an emergency room in time. He started the first city-operated drug rehabilitation facilities, 5 of them in fact, and ensured that we treated the addicts of that terrible crime with care while we went after the drug dealers. And he increased the JMPD by 1,500 so that we had a real law enforcement operation with a specialized K9 narcotics unit that was successful in going after the dealers, the distributors and the manufacturers of drugs in our city. He delivered 7,000 RDP homes, 7,500 title deeds, giving people ownership of the houses that had been delivered to them years and years ago, and 3,500 service stands, because he recognized we need a creative way of not just rolling out 2,000 RDP homes a year against a housing backlog that's growing by more than that every single year. He had an anti-corruption unit that had 6,000 cases of fraud, corruption and maladministration that was investigating over 35 billion rands in transactions. 900 people were arrested by that unit, and there is no other political leader in our country that can shine the shoes of those achievements. And he insourced 6,000 security guards and cleaners, taking them away from the abusive tenderpreneurs who had paid them 3,000 rand a month while they were being paid 4,000 rand, 14,000 rand per security guard every month. And he gave them the dignity of a proper employment contract, a decent wage, regular pay, a pay slip, and all the things that are just basic rights that were being denied those people. What makes this list of achievements so impressive is it was done in a minority 7-way coalition. And as you see coalition governments failing all around you, this was one that worked, because Herman Mashaba knew that to make a coalition work, you need to get people around the table, you need to find ideas that aren't just your own, and you need to deliver on them in a local government environment where everyone believes in electricity and water and roads and proper sewers, etc. And we are highlighting these achievements, and we will continue to highlight these achievements every week running up to this election, so that we can remind the people of Johannesburg that Herman Mashaba has done it again, has done it before, and ActionSA can do it again. And we can help them out of their depression, where they don't have to think that power outages and water stoppages and potholes and refuse collection problems are the norm, and that they can have proper services in their city because they have had it before. Thank you very much.
Thank you, NC, for the detailed information. Colleagues, members of the media, it would be wrong for us to talk by ourselves. We need to engage members of the residents that are affected, or rather that are benefiting, or rather that are connected to the substation that is behind us, so that they can share with us that indeed the change or the 𝐵𝐵𝐻𝐿 project has really brought a change in their lives, because we are a political party that means what they say. So we've got in our midst 𝐬𝐮𝐬𝐜𝐫𝐢𝐻𝐿, whom I would request for you to come, my brother, and share that indeed the 𝐵𝐵𝐻𝐿 are here.
Yes, good afternoon, everyone. Yes, my name is 𝐬𝐿. I am a resident here. First I used to stay at Albertsville, down the road, and now I stay in Northcliffe. So I can say that I'm a beneficiary of this substation that's behind us here. And as a resident, I know how it's like to be without electricity. And I can tell you now, this in our lives, when I say our lives, I'm talking also me and my family, you know, so it made a big difference. And I can say that, you know, during the times when Mr. Mashaba was around, because I also, as a resident, I didn't only benefit from here. I remember, because my occupation also requires me to go a lot to Johannesburg CBD. So what happens is, I remember those days, how clean the city was. You know, when I got there, how neat the city was. We were shocked. We were shocked, because I know how things had been. And to see how beautiful the Johannesburg CBD was, it was shocking for me. And now the way it is now. And so yeah, I just want to send my gratitude also to Mr. Mashaba for what he had done, which I believe he can still do given a chance. As a resident of Northcliffe and also residents of Albertsville, I would just like to say thank you to Mr. Mashaba, and yeah, all the best.
Forward with clean government, forward!
Forward!
Forward with clean government, forward!
Forward!
Down with corruption, down!
Down!
Down with corruption, down!
Thank you very much, colleagues, Sanbonan leaders. Stand for you coming today as we continue talking about the legacy of Herman Mashaba. I heard NC touching it that there was a time where Herman Mashaba was a mayor, DA and other political parties, they decided to come up with the plan to remove Herman Mashaba. Removing Herman Mashaba because of Herman Mashaba was putting the residents first. We can give an example about the people of Alexander. There was a time where they wanted Herman Mashaba to focus on cutting grasses. But Herman Mashaba said, no, community comes first. There was a time where they wanted a bicycle lane in Sente. Herman Mashaba said, not in my presence. We must prioritize the community. There are people who need services better than bicycle lanes. Today, we are where we are. Here by my back here, there's a substation which is supplying the community or the residents here who are no longer suffering on the issue of electricity. So I'm calling the city of Johannesburg to know that what Herman Mashaba did, ActionSA can do it now. It's on you to make sure that when come the election, you give ActionSA a chance. Anything is possible under the leadership of Herman Mashaba. I want to tell you that once you give us a chance, ActionSA will deliver services to each and everyone without checking where you are coming from or which political party you belong to. ActionSA puts the resident first, and we will continue putting the residents